work with them on the fundamentals and trying to enhance their knowledge of the game and their fundamental base.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coach Corey Braddock, good to see you, Jay.
Good to see you.
I hope I don't ask a bunch of overlap questions.
You know what? You got a job to do, and I appreciate it. So if there are, I'll go with it.
I
anyway.
apologize if I do. So where are we at with depth right now? I mean, it seems like you guys, I say this every year, but it seems like you guys have a knack of getting 7 to 8 guys that you're comfortable with. And it looked like maybe beginning of fall camp, at least my perception, that maybe you had 6, 3 in the interior, 3 in the outside. Maybe that's not accurate. Where are we at with maybe 7, 8? Have we gotten to a point where you start to feel comfortable with those guys?
I think you can see where we can get to that point as long as the guys who are progressing and getting off to a good start so far continue to climb. We're 9 practices in. But as I've told others who have asked the same question, whether you're talking about that group of guys that aren't freshmen, but they're not starters, they're in between those two groups of people. They're talking about Brian Allen, Max Llewellyn, Caden Crawford, Luke Gaffney, Will Hubert, Jeff Bowie, Jeremiah Pittman. All those guys are practicing hard and doing a good job and really progressing. It's just going to be an interesting next couple of weeks to see them all compete, to find out who among them can kind of emerge and rise above the others, and then continue to press and chase those guys who are in those starting roles right now.
Seems like, to me, that the group you brought in this season, the freshman group, at your position, just a lot of raw athleticism between Chima and Joseph Anderson and Devin Kennedy. Can you talk a little bit about those guys, and do they have, because of some of the physical tools and the length that they have, potential to play early?
Well, I mean, you hate to sit there and when you got a group of starters like we have and quality backups like we have to put that pressure on them, I guess, for lack of better terms. There's just a really good group of 5 guys in there, to be honest with you, in that freshman class. And like you say, they do have really good length. There's growth potential there. And when we recruit these guys, we don't really talk about them being ends or tackles. We just talk about them being D linemen. And then what happens with their growth process and maturation will determine, and their movement skills, whether they play inside or outside. But there's a lot of good material there. These guys are hard workers. They're coachable. They want to do well. Kenny Merriweather, he's kind of in between that group of backups and that group of freshmen too. Like, he's trying to press up in there for playing time. Kenny's done a good job. It'll be an interesting 2 weeks to see where it all kind of how it all sifts out.
What's Maddox, Orchard and Johnson, his growth in the last year look like?
Maddox has made good progress. He's done a nice job. Again, there's a lot of competition in that second layer of interior guys on the defense, but he's really made a lot of improvement fundamentally and done a nice job too. So again, we've got really about 15, 16, 17, maybe more practices to go before we get into game week prep. And then, we'll let those guys fight it out and compete. We'll see, who the best man is, I guess, when it's all said and done. But I feel good that we'll come out of this thing with, 7, 8, maybe 9 guys that you can put out there and feel comfortable playing like we've been able to do in the past.
Aaron Graves and Y.A. Black, you look at them, they look like NFL players. Both of those guys, have they shown flashes to where you think they might be able to take that big step this year to fulfill that potential?
That question needs to go to somebody that does NFL talent evaluation. I think they're very gifted, high-quality players who are going to be successful in the Big Ten. That should tell you all you need to know. But I'm not sitting there making those draft choices and in the war room with the GMs and all that stuff. So we'll let those guys decide. But I really like where those guys are at right now.
You're not immune to probably hearing the scuttlebutt about how many more years is Coach Niemann going to stick around coaching football. How do you respond to that? Like, what is your outlook? Are you do you see yourself coaching for another 4 to 5 years? More than that?
Age is just a number. It's all it is to me. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and as long as I am, I'm going to continue to do it.
What's your favorite part about being a coach?
Interaction with the players, just being in the meeting room, being on the practice field, watching their growth and having those relationships.
Do you still like recruiting, even though there's the transfer portal and NIL and that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed, obviously, especially over the last 2 years. It's changed a lot, but it still boils down to when you get away from those aspects of recruiting, dealing with high school coaches, dealing with families, dealing with recruits, and having that communication and interaction, and just going through that process year in and year out. So yeah, I enjoy it.